10 spine-chilling true cruise ship horrors revealed. Haunted voyages and sinister secrets exposed. The Jones family was on a quest for adventure. After years of toiling through life in Cincinnati, they managed to scrape together a vacation. They were excited, thrilled by the prospect of sun-soaked days aboard the SS Freedom. However, legends whispered about the ship. Stories of disappearance and ghostly happenings shrouded its voyages. But the allure of fun quickly drowned out the moans of caution. As they boarded the vessel, Michael, the protective father, couldn't shake an eerie feeling. The colors of dusk danced against the water, but everything felt darker. In their cozy cabin, Sarah, a devoted schoolteacher, smiled at the kids. Emma and Jake were lost in daydreams of slide pools and midnight buffets. But then, a shadow passed just outside their door. It felt like a warning. Dinner had never tasted so strange. As plates of steaming food arrived, all eyes turned toward the purser, a broad-shouldered man whose unsettling grin spread across his face like a knife slicing through flesh. His eyes lingered, unnervingly deep, watching, waiting. The hairs on the back of Michael's neck raised. Then whispers began, soft at first, a distant murmur. They filled the air, echoing through the hallways. "Did you hear that?" Emma whispered, eyes darting. Jake clung tighter to Sarah, his laughter fading like a dying ember. Something shifted in the air. A chill formed, gnawing at their excitement. And then it happened. Sarah's favorite bracelet vanished from the tabletop. Moments later, Jake's beloved stuffed animal disappeared as well. "Just misplaced," Michael insisted, but doubt crept in heavier than the aroma of baked fish. The purser appeared again, always just in time, with that same unnerving smile. As night blanketed the ship, Emma's heart raced. Shadows danced along the corridor, twisting into shapes that whispered fear into her ears. "Look," she gasped, pointing toward a dark figure just beyond the light. It vanished, but the weight of dread grew. Panic gripped the family. They could feel the ship was not just afloat, but alive. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As if heeding the darkness, the lights flickered violently before succumbing to darkness, engulfing the ship. The hum of engines faded into an unsettling silence. "What is happening?" Sarah's voice trembled. They tried their cell phones. Dead. The family was marooned in a world where time stood still. They realized the whispers were warnings, the ship's hunger lurking just beyond sight. Desperate, they navigated the pitch-black corridor, the oppressive weight of the ship pressing in. The purser materialized again from the shadows, but now he wasn't alone. Haunting images of faces from the past flickered in Michael's mind, fearful eyes watching, waiting for freedom. Cold sweat slid down his back as the truth crept in. They were marked. The SS Freedom wasn't just haunted, it craved them. As they faced the purser, the chilling realization hit them all. They had to escape, or join the souls already lost, swallowed by the sea. Would they find the strength to unveil the darkness lurking within, or were they destined to be the latest victims of this wretched vessel? Panic seized Michael's heart as their eyes locked onto the purser, his movements more deliberate now, sharp as the shadows that flickered behind him. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice low and gravelly, reverberating like thunder in the oppressive silence. The air felt like ice around them. "What do you want?" Sarah stammered, instinctively gripping her children close. Emma squeezed Jake's hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. "It's not what I want. It's about what the ship desires." His smile widened, revealing teeth too sharp, too gleaming in the darkness. A low rumble echoed through the hall, rattling the walls. The SS Freedom groaned like a living beast, hungry and alive. Suddenly, the lights sputtered back on, casting harsh illumination through the corridor. The family looked around, disoriented. To their horror, they spotted other passengers standing in doorways, expressionless, their eyes glazed over as if in a trance. It was as if the entire crew, the boat's entire history of lost souls, was watching. "Run!" Michael shouted. The urgency propelled them forward, racing down the corridor as the whispers crescendoed, enveloping them in a chaotic symphony of anguish. "Where do we go?" Jake cried, terror etched across his small face. "Anywhere but here," Michael yelled, guiding his family toward the nearest staircase. Each step reverberated beneath them like a heartbeat, rhythmically filling the oppressive silence. The ship was alive, and it screamed their names. They descended into a dimly lit lower deck, where the droning of machinery echoed, blending with the whispers that grew louder, more frantic. Ghostly images flickered at the edge of their vision, a ship captain pleading for release, a woman in a drenched white dress weeping silently in a corner, hands outstretched towards them. Michael could barely breathe. Sweat trickled down his brow. "We have to find an exit," he gasped, scanning the claustrophobic surroundings. "Look," Emma pointed at a nearby door, a rusty escape hatch. But before they reached it, another shadow flickered at their side. The purser had emerged from the depths, gliding closer. His expression was now devoid of humor, replaced with a predatory glare. "You are not leaving with what you have taken," he hissed. The shadows around him morphed, coalescing into figures, restless spirits with sunken faces, their mouths silently screaming for escape. "Mom! Dad!" Jake screamed, tugging on Sarah's shirt. The fear in his voice ignited a fire within her. "No," she shouted, stepping forward. "We're not your prisoners. Let us leave." The purser laughed, a sound that echoed like the crunching of bones. "Leave? Oh, you will never leave. You belong to the sea now." In that moment of distraction, Michael seized the opportunity, grabbing his family by the arm and breaking into a sprint towards the hatch. They slammed into the door, pushing it open with all their strength, the salty air rushing in like a wave crashing over them. But outside was not the escape they expected. The night sky above roiled with dark clouds. The ocean itself stirred wildly, churning beneath their feet, beckoning them with its sinister allure. Distant flashes of lightning painted the scene alive. One glimpse revealed the true horror. An endless sea of faces in the water, wide-eyed and desperate. With dread thickening like fog around them, Michael shouted, "Find something to hold on to." But as they stumbled onto the deck, the ship shuddered violently, almost as if in agony. Was it too late? Were they condemned to join the souls lost forever? As the vessel seemed to scream in anguish, the family clung to each other, terror and determination coursing through their veins. Then, just as they thought all hope was lost, a distant voice cut through the chaos. "Over here." They turned toward the sound, their hearts pounding. Who was calling them? Was it salvation or another trap? The question lingered as the ship's grip tightened around them, each wave crashing, resonating an ominous promise. What awaited them through that beckoning voice? They had to choose. Quickly, between the light and the darkness that threatened to consume them whole. The wind howled around them, a cruel whisper that stung their skin as Michael scanned the deck for the source of the voice. "Over here." It echoed again, tremulous but insistent, leading them toward the edge of the ship. "Is it a person?" Sarah hissed, her voice barely rising above the storm. "Maybe," Michael replied, squinting against the swirling darkness. He could barely make out a figure through the tumult. It was cloaked in shadows, the edges flickering as though it were part of the night itself. But there was something inviting in the way it swayed, beckoning them closer. "Mom, I don't want to go near it," Jake cried, fingers digging into Sarah's side. "Just hold on tight," Sarah shouted, her heart racing as the ship trembled beneath them, responding to some unseen fury in the vast darkness. "Come closer," the voice urged, eerie yet soothing. It sent chills down Michael's spine, each syllable wrapping around him like that of a long-lost friend. The purser's laughter roared through the storm, drowning out the voice. "Stay? You cannot escape your fate," he bellowed, shadows shifting at his feet, forming faces twisted with despair. "Keep moving," Michael shouted, grabbing Emma's hand firmly and pulling his family toward the edge. They rushed along the deck, the wooden planks vibrating like a living creature under their weight. The clouds above twisted and churned, matching the chaos below. As they approached the figure, a flicker of doubt entered Michael's heart. What if it was another trick? What if it was the purser in disguise? He glanced back, seeing the purser's silhouette growing larger, looming like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. "Please, we don't have much time." The voice intensified, and in that moment, it seemed less hostile and more desperate. Just then, lightning illuminated the figure of a woman, drenched but ethereal, her eyes hollow yet filled with an agonizing clarity. "Help us," she pleaded, staring right at them. "Help us?" Emma asked, her small voice cracking in fear. "Who are you?" But as the woman reached out, the ship bucked violently, tossing them all toward the edge. "Hold on," Michael screamed. He felt a surge of adrenaline as he grabbed the railing, pulling his family back just in time as the ship lurched again, threatening to swallow them whole. "We can't stay here," Sarah cried. "What do we do?" The woman's gaze never left them, the urgency in her eyes piercing through the chaos. "You must choose. The ship must have a soul. Choose." Michael gasped, his mind racing. "Choose what?" But the woman faded with the falling rain, her anguished expression lingering as if etched within the storm. Another crash of thunder echoed, and then they heard it, the whispers growing louder, the voices of the ship's returning, desperate for something to quench their endless hunger. "It's not just about leaving," Michael whispered, horror dawning on him. The purser's laughter resonated again, richer and darker. "You belong to the sea now unless you give something back." "What kind of choice is that?" Sarah gasped, fear overtaking her features. As the ceiling of clouds spun overhead, Michael's breath quickened. The walls of fate were closing in. But standing there, caught between the beckoning call of the departed and the monstrous threat of the purser, they realized they needed to act fast before the terror of the ship consumed them completely. "Let us go," he shouted, but as they turned to flee, the sail above ripped violently, spilling more shadowy figures onto the deck. Michael's heart raced. What had they awakened? What would they have to give up to escape? Their sprint launched them into chaos, uncertainty swirling around them like the tempest that roared above. But was escape truly possible, or was it just another illusion? As they stumbled back toward wherever the path would take them, a single name echoed through the confusion: Freya. Who was Freya, and what did she have to do with their sacrifice? With the ship still shrieking around them, they dashed forward, drawn deeper into the unknown. What fate awaited them next? The chaos unfolded before them as Michael pulled his family along the deck. Rain lashed against their faces like icy needles. Shadows pulsed and writhed, a chorus of despair swelling amid the storm. Emma stumbled, her small hand slipping from Michael's grasp. "Emma!" he shouted, panic seizing his chest. He turned just in time to see her clutching the rail, wide-eyed and transfixed by a figure emerging from the shadows, a child, spectral, drenched, and pale, with a face twisted in unexplainable sorrow. "Help!" the ghostly child echoed, its voice a haunting melody wrapped in despair. "Michael, don't!" Sarah screamed, pulling him back. But he was already moving, compelled by the innocence in the child's gaze. "Please," the child begged, reaching out. "We need you." "Need us for what?" Michael shouted, but the words fell into the chaos swirling around them. The laughter of the purser rang out like a funeral bell, sending a shiver down his spine. A flash of lightning illuminated the figure once again, and the child's form flickered, merging with the shadows. "Choose," echoed the voice of the woman from before. A soul for a soul." "What do you mean?" Michael gasped, his mind racing against the rising tide of shadows. A horrifying realization nestled within him. The ship craved something. It wanted more than just to claim them. It needed a sacrifice. Jake cried out, "I want to go home." His voice broke, an innocent plea piercing the night's terror. "Home?" The purser roared, icy mirth curling on his lips. "No one goes home." "Enough!" Michael bellowed, the weight of his family pressing down on him. "We want to give in." But as he said it, a heavy dread settled over the group. Could they escape without giving something back? Something precious? Another flash of lightning, and suddenly they felt the ship lurch violently, as if it were alive, thrashing in a final fit of rage. They collided with the railing, the relentless storm battering their bodies. "Help us! Find Freya!" The ghostly child cried out, disappearing into the dark, leaving only an echo of its plea. "Freya?" Michael whispered, but the name felt like a curse on his lips. Who was she? And how was she connected to their fate? "Keep moving," Sarah urged, her voice hoarse as she dragged Emma back from the brink of panic. The deck ahead twisted like a serpentine path through the storm, shadows darting as if alive, tantalizing them. trapping them in a web of chilling despair. The whispers surged again, mingling with the roar of the sea, thickening like a fog enveloping them. "We can't let it take us," Jake shouted, but doubt laced his voice. The ship trembled and the shadows responded, tightening around them, pressing in closer. Just ahead, Michael saw a dim light flickering, beckoning him, but he hesitated. Was it hope, or another trap? "Follow me," he yelled, decisively leading them toward the glow while the purser's laugh thundered behind them, echoing through the steel walls. In the distance, figures danced in the light, horrifyingly twisted versions of human shapes, eyes dark and hollow, gnashing their teeth in a silent scream of agony. As they neared the light, a wave of warmth washed over them, almost comforting amid the cold, clammy fear. But that comfort was as deceptive as the shadowy figures lurking just beyond. "Freya," the twisted figures whispered, stretching their hands towards the family, hope mingling with dread as they pressed forward. Michael's heart thundered in his chest. "What do you want from us?" Before he could decipher the answer, a violent tremor knocked him off his feet. The ship howled in response, and through the chaos, a shadowy silhouette loomed ahead, a woman, her features discernible now, resembling the child's spirit. "Freya," Michael breathed. The figure grinned, revealing teeth unnaturally sharp. "Choose or remain," as whispers in the dark. Suddenly, the lights flickered out, plunging them into darkness. And as whispers reached a crescendo, the ship lurched once more, flinging them toward the relentless void. What choice would they have to make? What could possibly save them? The darkness swallowed Michael, Sarah, and their children whole, a suffocating blanket of panic wrapping around them. Pulsing shadows danced amidst the tumult, and the storm outside thrashed against the ship like an angry beast. "Stay close," Michael shouted, his voice barely rising above the chaos. He could feel Sarah's trembling hand grasping his arm, her breath hitching as fear flooded the air. They stumbled forward, searching for any semblance of safety while the chilling laughter of the purser echoed behind them, a grim reminder that they were not alone. Suddenly, a flicker of light emerged from the void, illuminating the surroundings just enough to catch glimpses of twisted, skeletal faces peering at them from the shadows. Michael fought back bile. They were watching, waiting, eager for another soul to join their silent torment. "Don't look at them," he instructed, pulling Jake and Emma closer. The warmth that had brushed against them before now felt tainted, as if every flicker of light carried a hidden malice. "Where's Freya?" Jake's voice quivered, breaking through the heavy atmosphere. "I don't know," Michael replied, panic creeping into his heart. "But we need to find her if we're going to get out of this." The ship shuddered violently again, a cruel reminder of how precarious their situation had become. They rounded a corner, the dim light revealing a door, slightly ajar, swinging gently as if inviting them in. The whispering grew louder, intense. "Freya waits. She'll free you. Do we trust it?" Sarah breathed, her eyes wide with fear. "No choice," Michael responded, stealing his resolve. He pushed the door open, and they stumbled into darkness. The room reeked of damp wood and salt. Glimmers of pale light flickered from cracked windows, casting fleeting shadows that painted the walls with ghostly figures. Emma squeaked, "Look!" On an old wooden table, a small, delicate doll lay in waiting, its porcelain skin cracked, a single glass eye missing. Beside it, a faded photograph showed a girl, no older than Emma, smiling brightly, a familiar face. "Freya," Michael whispered, dread flooding him. "Is that her?" Sarah asked, inching towards the doll. Just then, a low growl echoed in the room, chilling them to the bone. Shadows coalesced, merging to form a figure, a woman with hollow cheeks and sorrow-filled eyes, much like the ghostly child from before. "Freya needs you, like I need her," the apparition rasped. Choose what?" Michael shouted, his voice rising above the impending darkness. "Choose freedom or despair." As she spoke, the room warped, showing glimpses of past horrors, victims lost to the endless sea, faces twisted in a fight against the consuming darkness that claimed their very souls. "Do you want our souls?" Michael gasped, realizing the weight of the decision he was forced to bear. The shadows curled tighter around them, smothering the air. "One must go." "No," Sarah screamed, eyes wide with disbelief. Tension crackled between the family, a palpable fear swirling around them. Michael felt the life or death of his family hang in the balance. He glanced toward the door, muscles tense, mind racing. Would they survive this cursed ship, or would they be just another group lost to its dark appetite? "Save us, Freya," Emma whimpered, stepping closer to the doll, confusion filling her eyes. As the shadows shimmered, the girl's face in the photograph flickered, eyes pleading. A dreadful realization sank in. If they chose wrong, they would not be the only ones to suffer the ship's wrath. "Please, we need a way out," Michael shouted, desperation pouring from him. As if in response, the walls shuddered, the lights flickered again, eyes piercing through the cracks of reality. Would Freya guide them to safety, or would her name seal their fate? With a deafening roar, the ship seemed to awaken, thrashing in fury. The shadows danced around them, hungry. And in that moment of sheer panic and chaos, Michael knew a choice loomed before him, deeper and darker than anything he had ever faced. What would he sacrifice to escape this nightmare? The shadows thickened, engulfing them in a suffocating grip. Michael's heart pounded like a drum in his ears, drowning out the chaos around them. The air tasted coppery, a stark reminder of the fear clawing at his throat. He felt Sarah's grip tightening on his arm, her nails digging into his skin, grounding him while his mind raced between choices and consequences. "Michael," she breathed, voice cracking. "What do we do?" He glanced at the doll, so lifeless, yet eerily familiar. Could it really hold the key to their escape? Freya's name lingered like a bitter memory on his tongue. Was she a savior or a trap? The figure of the woman loomed larger, her gaunt face marred by shadows, ultimately unrecognizable. "Time is short," she whispered, her voice a sinister lullaby that chilled their very souls. "You have but a moment to choose. One must be set free for all others to escape." "No," Jake cried, eyes wide, tears glistening. "We can't let anyone go." "Emma," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "Stay behind us." "Mom," Emma protested, confusion flickering across her young face. "We can't just leave someone." Yet Michael knew fear festered deeper under the surface. He could feel the shadows shifting closer, hungry for their despair. "Choose," the apparition hissed, her voice warping, reverberating around the decaying walls. "Fate is upon you. One life for the rest. Let us go." Michael screamed, willing the unseen forces to relent, but as his voice reached the corners of the room, despair laughed back at him. Suddenly, the floor quaked beneath them, as if the ship were alive and furious. The walls blurred, revealing more twisted faces pressing closer, mouths moving in silent mockery. "Michael, we can't," Sarah murmured, gripping his shoulder tightly. Panic glimmered in her eyes, a reflection of the turmoil they all felt. A cold sweat broke out, and Michael felt his resolve slipping. What if Freya were a ghoul waiting to drag them into her eternal suffering? How could he balance the safety of his family against the unknown fate of another? And yet, the ship's roar grew deafening, pressing forth on him, suffocating him under its weight. "Freya," he finally shouted, conviction rocketing through him. "Show us the choice." A moment of silence swelled, heavy and pregnant with uncertainty. The walls thrummed in response. The photograph of the girl flickered to life, her features twisting in agony, eyes pleading for rescue but also warning. "Michael," the woman's voice turned cold, almost teasing. "You cannot escape your fate. One will not leave this darkness untouched." Jake began to tremble. What if we all just leave together?" "Together?" Sarah whispered, as if tasting the hope clinging to that word. "But how?" The shadows twisted, building pressure around them. Fragments of voices echoed through the din, their cries unearthly, swirling with their fears. It felt as if something was reaching from the depths of the ship, from the corners of existence to secure them within this nightmare. "Only one can escape," the woman roared, the floor vibrating with her anger. Metallic shouts merged with the wailing, trapping them in a vicious dance of terror. Michael felt frozen, every muscle tensed as fear gripped his throat. Would he have to decide who lived and who died? The children's lives weighed heavily on him, the consequences unfurling like a twisted fate. "Freya," he shouted again, desperation spilling from him. "If you exist, then show us the truth." A terrible laughter erupted, reverberating off the walls, sending shivers down his spine. The shadows shifted violently, And before he could comprehend what was happening, a blinding flash surged through the room. And then, something changed. The shadows dimmed, splitting like water, revealing a door. An ordinary door, radiating warmth, but a sense of dread boiled deep within as they faced it. The choice loomed large before them. Was it freedom or another trap? Michael, a voice trembled behind him. Which of us will go? Sarah's icy whisper hung between them like a death knell, and within that dilemma, a revelation. Pulsated a secret yet to be revealed. Who would make the sacrifice? A heart-stopping moment lingered. Would they muster the courage to step through, or would they remain shackled to the shadows forever? In the back of his mind, an overwhelming thought echoed. What awaited them on the other side of that door? The ship trembled beneath their feet, anticipation crackling in the air, and with it, uncertainty and fear clinging like a second skin. Would they break free, or would the choice made seal their doom? A whisper danced in the air, playful yet lingering. Choose wisely. As darkness loomed heavier than before, Michael's heart raced. Would salvation grace them, or was it merely an illusion, a gateway to their end? The door loomed before them, deceptively inviting. Michael felt the pull of its warmth against the raging cold surrounding them, the oppressive shadows swirling like storm clouds. He could hardly breathe. Each gasping inhale filled his lungs with the acrid scent of fear. No, Sarah's whisper slithered through the tension. We can't just send someone alone. Michael understood her dread. The room remained thick with watching eyes, faces carved from darkness, twisted into expressions of mourning and malevolence. Every one of them was a reminder of what awaited the one who dare tread through that portal. Michael, Emma's voice quaked, small and frightened. I don't want to leave anyone behind. Jake nodded vigorously, clutching her hand like a lifeline, his blue eyes wide and pleading. But what if we don't choose? Jake countered, launching into a spiral of desperation. What happens then? The apparition's laughter danced in the air, blending with the echoes of lost souls. Time is fleeting, she sang. The room will swallow all, or one shall live while the rest fall deeper into despair. The shadows quivered as if answering her words, extending fingers greedy for their fear. Michael wrestled with the enormity of the choice, but comfort felt dangerously close, like a poison. Maybe it could be me, he offered, emotions thrumming like a taut string. I'll go. I've lived enough for all of us. The words tasted bitter on his tongue. No. Sarah's eyes filled with horror, desperation slicing clear through her voice. We can't let it be you. The flickering light from the door began to fade, like a candle guttering under an invisible breeze. If we don't go, we will lose everything, Michael argued, trying to keep the resolve from shattering. We can't trust her, Jake shouted, tears brimming. What if it's a trick? Then we go together. Emma's small voice sliced through the chaos, her child's purity unblemished in the face of terror. We take our chances. Together. No one gets left behind. A flicker of determination ignited in Michael's chest. Together, he echoed softly, the warmth of fleeting comfort amidst encroaching shadows. But doubt not at him. What if only one could escape? His gut churned with uncertainty. The apparition's keen gaze sharpened, fixing on him. One must pass through, or all will remain trapped in torment for eternity. Her words slithered into his mind like honey-coated daggers, laced with dread. What do we do? Sarah cried, her voice rising in pitch, an edge of panic creeping in. Michael closed his eyes, forcing his breath slow and steady. It felt like the choice spun around the room in infinite circles. He felt the vastness of their love, their shared moments, a fragile web that could snap without a moment's notice. So, we pick who goes, he finally stated, resolve hardening like steel. The shadows shivered, sensing the flickers of bravery piercing their veil of darkness. But, we need a plan. Suddenly, the air turned hot as if the shadows themselves were heating, ready to consume. A low growl rolled from the walls, stirring layers of fear deep within him. Who will it be? The figure hissed, her voice dropping dangerously low. Choose. The weight of the moment clamped down, heavy and suffocating. Whispers of both salvation and doom tangled in the air, leaving them breathless. In the corner, the darkness moved. It whispered promises of eternal pain, while the golden light of the door flickered like a dying star. An unsettling thought crept in his mind. What if escaping meant leaving someone behind to suffer? The darkness roared, suddenly emboldened by their hesitation. Shadows writhed, creeping ever closer, like long fingers wrapping around their throats. Michael, choose. Sarah's voice trembled, each word a soft plea, yet forcing the impossibility of the decision out into the open. As the walls closed in with an unnatural ferocity, Michael had to decide. As seconds stretched into lifetimes, a cold sweat broke over him. Who will go? The shadows hushed, a heavy anticipation settled, thickening the air around them. And at that moment, a horrifying realization seeped into his bones. Whatever choice they made, the darkness would have its due. Would he expose a member of his family to unimaginable horror, or would the decision imprison them all? The door flickered again, its warmth recalibrating against a chilling tide of darkness. He could barely see the silhouettes of his loved ones, fear etched into each face like a haunting memory. Choose. The shadows beckoned, the ship raging in defiance. But as he stared at the door, Michael understood. This decision could lead to salvation or seal their doom. In that ominous silence, darkness hung thick, taunting them with its depth. A chilling question curled around his heart: what awaited them on the other side if they took the plunge? What price would the shadows demand? A silence enveloped the room, thick with dread and uncertainty. Michael's heart hammered in his chest, a frantic cadence against the pressure of looming shadows. He felt the heat from the door pressing back, a sinister reminder of the choice that needed to be made. The apparition lingered, her ethereal presence scattering chills across their skin. Choose your sacrifice, she breathed, her voice a poisonous lullaby, wrapping around the trembling figures. What does that even mean? Jake shouted into the dark, his voice trembling. Are we supposed to just choose who dies? The word hung like an anvil in the air, heavy and unforgiving. No, Sarah cried out, shaking her head furiously. We won't do that. There has to be another way. Her shoulders slumped, a reluctant acceptance collecting at the corners of her eyes. They were trapped in a nightmare of impossibility, where every option felt like betrayal. Maybe it doesn't have to be about leaving someone behind, Emma whispered, her voice wavering. She looked so small and innocent in the flickering light, yet the terror in her eyes burned deep. What if we focus on getting out together? The shadows shivered at her words, responding with an angry hiss. The air thickened, suffocating around them. Michael clenched his fists, desperate for clarity in a storm of chaotic emotions. Hadn't they promised to stand together? Together, he whispered, feeling the weight of responsibility crash over him. But what if it doesn't work? What if the darkness takes all of us? A low growl rolled around them, reverberating off the walls as if the very structure of reality was protesting their indecision. Michael flinched, his stomach lurching. The shadows seemed to revel in his fear, thickening with intent. He could almost feel their inevitable grasp tightening, pulling at him, urging him to make a choice. Listen, Sarah's voice cut through the darkness. We cannot just be victims. We have to take control. Control? Michael thought, the word hanging like a lifeline. They needed a strategy, but how could they even grasp something they didn't understand? Every option felt like grasping at smoke. The apparition's eyes gleamed, watching, waiting. Time is running out, she hissed. Choose, or be consumed. It was then that the floor beneath them trembled with malice, a reminder of the chilling price they faced. Michael glanced around, desperate to glean strength from his friends, but the shadows twisted their features into expressions of despair. The weight of decisions lay heavy upon them. I say we go through the door together, he announced, something raw igniting within him. If the darkness claims us, then we face it head on. The flicker of light grew weak as he spoke, the last flickers of hope dimming against the encroaching terror. No, Sarah disagreed, panic rising again. We can't all just walk in there. What if it's not just a door? What if it's worse? Her words had a ring of truth, spilling forth like poison. Jake took a step back, his face pale, shaking his head fervently. We're finished, it's too late. We can't escape. Never say never. Emma retorted fiercely, her innocence casting a defiant light against the darkness. Michael grasped onto her words, channeling them like an anchor, knowing action must tip the scales. Maybe we can use what we know against them. They're drawn to fear. Let us show them they can't break us. Are you sure? Jake's voice trembled with uncertainty. glancing at the shadows swirling hungrily around them. No, Sarah insisted. We can't rely on wishful thinking. We need to decide who goes first. Despair loomed in the corners of Michael's mind. A disbelief wrapped around his heart. Could bravery buy them time, or was this all part of an elaborate game? Then I'll go first, he declared. I'll open the door. Gasps echoed, the shadows swaying dangerously. Michael, no? Emma pleaded, clutching his arm. I have to. We have to break the curse. With his heart racing, Michael took a deep breath. He was committed now. The shadows quivered dangerously, and he began to step towards the door, a crack of light, illuminating the horror that awaited on the other side. Michael! Sarah's scream shattered the air as he reached for the doorknob, the palpable energy of the dark tightening around them. And just as he touched it, the ground shifted violently beneath his feet. What awaited him beyond the threshold? Would it be an escape, or would he fall deeper into the abyss? He dared to turn back, but the faces of the ones he loved blurred in the rising dark. What had he unleashed? The door swung open with a bone-chilling creak, revealing swirling chaos beyond. A cold breath of wind snaked around him, and he plunged into the abyss. What awaited him in the darkness? Freedom, or a hell from which there would be no return? The moment Michael stepped through the door, the world exploded into chaos. He was swallowed by a void of swirling blackness that pulled at his flesh, his very essence being unraveled. The chill enveloped him, sapping warmth and life until he felt nothing but a gnawing terror. Suddenly, he hit the ground hard. Pain shot through his body as he scrambled to his feet, the air thick with a pungent, acrid stench. Michael gasped, eyes adjusting to an unnatural dim light. Shadows danced around him, flickering shapes that whispered his name, luring him deeper into despair. Michael? A familiar voice called, strained and echoing. It was Sarah. Panic gnawed at his heart. Where are you? Over here, he shouted, voice hoarse with fear. He turned, searching the haze, desperate to grasp the outlines of his friends. A flicker of movement caught his eye. Emma stumbled towards him, eyes wide with horror. What is happening? Where are we? I don't know. He felt a surge of helplessness as he reached out for her. The proximity of her presence was a fragile anchor in this relentless dark. But we have to find the others. As they moved closer together, an unseen force rippled through the air, sending a cold shiver down Michael's spine. Stay close, don't get separated. But the shadows thickened around them, growing restless, pulsating with a rhythm that felt alive. A low growl reverberated, quaking the very ground beneath their feet. They exchanged terrified glances, unsure of what was coming. Suddenly, Jake and Sarah materialized beside them, faces pale and drawn. Did we follow you through? Or are we dead? Jake stuttered, his voice cracking. No, Michael insisted, shaking his head furiously. We're still here. We just need to find a way out, Sarah interrupted, her voice trembling but determined. That's when the air shifted. An oppressive force swept like a wave, reaching into their chests, squeezing the air from their lungs. The shadows loomed almost deliberately, their cries growing louder, more insistent. We must feed. Choose. The apparition's voice echoed through the suffocating dark, colder than death itself. No, Emma screamed, fighting against the rising tide of despair. We refuse. We refuse to choose among ourselves. The shadows writhed in anger, the temperature dropping sharply, harsh and unyielding. Choose or perish. Your lives are forfeit unless you decide. Michael felt the terror tighten around him. We can't just submit to this evil. But deep inside, doubt flickered like a weak flame. What if they were out of time? What if the darkness consumed them before they were ready to act? Look, Jake's voice rang sharp. He pointed toward a faint glimmer breaking through the blackness, a shimmering doorway, pulsating with an odd light. What if that leads back? The shadows hissed, lunging forward as if agitated by the light, swarming like a tide threatening to crash. The light will not save you. It will bind you to the choice. Then we just have to move, Michael declared, firming his resolve. Together, he reached out for his friends, a protective circle forming as they stood against the oncoming tide. No more games, Sarah shouted defiantly as she hoisted herself closer to the flickering light. We refuse to play your twisted game. With all their strength, they pushed toward the light, adrenaline surging, fear transforming into fervent determination. But the shadows howled louder, clawing at their resolve, trying to tear them apart. When they were inches away from the doorway, another shattering roar erupted, sending them sprawling back. Time slowed, their hearts racing as panic grasped them again. The light beckoned, promising safety, but imminent doom loomed ever closer. Will it be enough? Michael thought desperately as he tumbled. A whirlwind of shadows surrounded them, suffocating and desperate. Together, he barked, clenching his fists. But in that moment among the chaos a revelation sparkled in his mind. What if they weren't supposed to resist? The shadows were drawn to fear, but maybe it's more about confronting our darkest truths, he whispered against the torrent. Michael. Sarah's voice surged in panic as she gripped his arm. But before he could respond, the shadows lunged once more, and everything shattered. Was surrender their only means of survival? Or had he uncovered a different power within the darkness? The door flickered brightly, drawing him in, but which path would lead them to freedom or to inevitable doom? In the void around them, the shadows writhed hungrily, waiting for their next move. Would they choose to confront their fears, or allow the darkness to consume them whole? The lights surged like the dawn breaking through the suffocating night, illuminating their fear-stricken faces. Michael felt the embers of hope rise within him, battling against the shadows that writhed hungrily for their despair. Together, we face this, he roared, pushing forward, the warmth of his family igniting a fierce determination that as they surged towards the shimmering light. The oppressive darkness retaliated, screaming in anguish, lost souls thrashing against the barrier. With each step, the shadows recoiled, their grasp weakening against the oncoming tide of defiance. Michael could feel the cold dread receding, replaced by a pulsing warmth that surged through his family. Let us confront this, Sarah shouted, gripping their hands tighter. We can do it together. The light glimmered brighter, and with that flicker, they emerged into the glowing threshold. It felt like stepping into a realm soaked with possibility. Everything shifting, colors bursting, warmth wrapping them in a safe cocoon. But as they crossed the threshold, a familiar figure loomed ahead. The purser stood before them, his grin dark and wide, teeth glinting like knives. You thought the light would save you? He snarled, shadows still swirling around him, thick with bitterness. Yes, Michael shouted back, emboldened, anger flaring in his chest. You can't take us anymore. The purser's laughter echoed, a twisted symphony that reverberated through the air. Fools, I will feed on your fear until eternity. No, Emma shrieked, stepping forward bravely. You can't have our fear. Michael felt a spark ignite in him, mirroring Emma's courage. He stepped alongside her. Together, we will defy you. In that moment, the shadows shrieked, swirling wildly around the purser, seemingly torn between his command and the light emanating from the family. You cannot escape your fate, he roared, but their united front held strong. Maybe you're right, Sarah chimed in, boldness rising within her veins. But we can choose our fate. We do not fear you. The words rang out, echoing like a melody through the air, drawing encouragement from one another. The purser sneered, your defiance will only lengthen your suffering. The family kept pushing forward, their connection surging, binding their resolve together. We're stronger than you think, Michael yelled, the currents around them shifting. And then it happened, a flash of overwhelming brightness erupted once more, blinding the figures of despair momentarily. With a collective breath, they surged forward, breaking through the grip of darkness. The purser's laughter turned frantic, the shadows around him screeching in fury. You belong to the ship, he hollered as the light enveloped him, scattering the darkness around him like grains of sand swept away by the tide. Not anymore, Jake shouted defiantly, clinging tightly to Emma's hand as the light expanded, shadows shriveled and dissolved, the cries of despair becoming echoes that faded into silence. The family stood together, eyes wide, hearts racing in the tranquil aftershock. What would happen? Emma breathed, looking around at the surreal scene. The ship transformed into a ghost of its former self, colors now vivid, a realm once drenched in darkness renewed into a beautiful palette of life. We're free, Sarah whispered, her voice choked with disbelief. But we need to find Freya. She showed us the way. Michael nodded. Yes? We didn't just escape. We have to honor those who are still trapped. The chill of the ship faded, light flooding their senses as they stepped further into the now brightly lit sanctuary. The spirits, freed from their torment, smiled at them as if ushering them forward, guiding them to where Freya waited. And there she stood, a gentle presence amid the vibrant atmosphere, hope emanating from her soft flickering figure. "Thank you," she said, her voice a melody swirling around them, warm and inviting. "You have broken the curse. You chose to challenge the shadows and save not just yourselves, but so many more." Tears filled Michael's eyes as a wave of relief washed over him. They had faced insurmountable terror, united through love and unyielding courage. "Let us remember those lost," he said, glancing at Sarah, Jake, and Emma. "We carry them in our hearts." With Freya leading them away from the remnants of their haunting, they moved forward together, embracing the promise of dawn beyond the horizon. The shadows that once loomed so closely fell away, becoming whispers of courage spurred by their family's boundless love. They stepped into the embrace of a world renewed, ready to cherish their second chance. As they walked into the light, fingers intertwined, Michael smiled. The weight of their journey transformed into an unwavering bond. "We made it," he whispered in a breathless awe. The family shared a knowing glance, where love thrived undeterred by darkness. They had faced the depths of despair and emerged stronger than before. Now, remember, if you want to stay part of this journey and explore more incredible stories, you need to subscribe immediately. This is the moment to show your support and smash that like button now so we can keep sharing these exclusive tales. Don't hesitate, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about how our heroes triumphed. Your insights mean the world to us. And please, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this breathtaking conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these simple actions. Thank you for joining us on this unbelievable ride.